Hey guys, today I have something very special for you. We're going to be looking at a Rolex Submariner. This is the new 41mm model with no date, known as one of the first ever dive watches ever made. When you think of Rolex, this is kind of like the first model that comes to your mind and many other people's minds when they think or hear Rolex. One of the most famous watches and most popular watches in the watch world, and almost everyone has one in their collection who can get their hands on one. And it's kind of a watch that's synonymous with the watch collecting world. Let's take a look at this legend and see what it's all about. It comes in this white sleeve like most watches do, pretty standard. Slide that off. So underneath you get this nice off-white cream color box. It's a pretty good quality paper box, and it has an engraved or a raised Rolex crown logo right here, which is a really cool touch, and I think it looks really nice. Pull this flap down and take the box out. That's really nice. It even says Rolex right there. So here it is, guys, the famous green Rolex watch box. Everyone complains that this is like a kind of cheap plastic box, but I think it's pretty nice. It has like this layer of leather. It might be paper or it might be a thin layer of actual leather, I'm not sure. It definitely does not feel plastic to me. It feels like it's wood with a layer on top of it. And you have this really nice Rolex gold crown. And there is the watch, guys. Beautiful. Up here, we do have the Rolex logo, and you pull this down, and the warranty card and instructions manual is right in here. Really nice little leather pouch you get it in, and the trademark Rolex green, and you just put that right back up in there. Pull this out. Beautiful. You just take this plastic cover off here. I just wanted to show you guys the hang tags that it comes with, and here's the certified chronometer, the Rolex tag. And the reason I'm showing you guys these tags like this is because when you purchase the watch from an AD, they actually take the tags and all the stickers off the watch before they give it to you in your hands. And this thing is just breathtaking, guys. I know that these watches have a lot of hype around them, and many people who haven't had a chance to get their hands on one probably are looking at other watches and are thinking that maybe they're not really worth the price that they're asking or the hype that everyone's kind of going crazy for them. And that's pretty subjective. I mean, some people love these watches and other people are very opposed to them, but I think the majority of people will appreciate the Submariner for what it is, and they respect the watch for what it is. Like I said, it's all subjective. Some people are going to think it's overpriced and you're better off getting an Omega Seamaster. It all comes down to your choice. And you know, this watch took me a long time to get. As you can imagine, the wait lists are pretty crazy. It's all the luck of the draw of your AD calling you, and I had to wait a couple years to get this. Actually, it took me almost 2 full years to finally get this in my hands. And this is the no date model, which I really love because of the symmetrical dial. I just love a no date watch. It just looks so clean, and the inner enthusiast in me always prefers a model without a date, and I think many people would agree with me here. And the benefit is it's also about $1,000 cheaper than the date model, which is pretty significant. It's funny because most watch enthusiasts would actually pay $1,000 more to not get the date, and I know there's many people that are going to argue that an extra complication makes a watch better, but I think the way that the trend's going right now, the real enthusiasts, myself included, would prefer a no date model, and that goes for all sorts of watches, not just divers. And the first thing you notice on this watch is just how shiny it is. The steel just looks really high quality, as you would expect, and everything on the dial is ceramic. So the dial is like very glossy, it has very nice shine to it. The bezel is all ceramic, so it's also very shiny. The hands and markers are white gold, so they catch the light, and the way they reflect light is much different than other metals. And even the polishing on the steel, the brush surfaces with the polished sides and edges just looks so beautiful, and it really does feel like you're holding something that is worth its money in metal. This is a very solid piece, and it's very hefty. It has like weight to it, but not only that, it just looks the part. Like, it just looks expensive. It looks like this is a quality piece. And as many of you can imagine, when you're waiting so long to finally get a watch and then you finally get it, it's just an amazing experience, and it's everything you ever hoped for. So for all those people that are waiting to get one and it's their grail piece, I would say it's definitely worth the wait. When you really want something, and when something's really desirable such as this, nothing else can really substitute that craving you have for this specific watch or any other watch in their lineup. It's true that, you know, Seiko or other brands are watchmakers, and Rolex is a marketing company, just like Apple. That's kind of true. I mean, you are getting top quality product, but you gotta admit the marketing is what sells these things. It's not just people going after pure spec, because if you wanted just pure specs, you could get an Omega Seamaster. You could get a way cheaper Seiko diver or a Tag Heuer or many others. The lists are endless, but there's something very desirable about these that no other watch can kind of really fulfill. And I think that is a very strong statement and a very strong selling point. So the marketing that they've done for this, and it really makes you want it, and it really makes you feel like, you know, this is it. Like you really achieved something. This is your I made it kind of watch, or your grail piece, or something that you aspire to one day have. I can see this for many people being their only Rolex or their only watch, and they would be perfectly fine and content with it. And I agree, it's a pretty amazing watch. It just looks and feels the part. For all of you that are actually thinking about picking one up, or you're on the wait list and you're kind of losing hope, I would say just keep waiting, just be patient, and eventually when you get it, you'll realize that it's definitely worth the wait. Even the steel that Rolex uses is much different than other watchmakers, and the kind of steel that they use is much tougher to mill as well and work with. So they invest a lot just to get this steel to work with their watches, and that is also a part of why their prices are much higher than other watchmakers as well that are in the same segment. And this watch is rated to 300 meters, just like the Seamaster, and this is the new 41 millimeter, which is what I really like. Made the lugs thinner on these ones, so they look much more proportionate versus the 40 millimeter, which was 1 millimeter smaller, but because of the lugs actually looked larger. So I think this one wears a lot better and just proportionally looks much better than the previous gen model. Another improvement they've done with this exact watch, this particular series of watch, is they added a new movement which has a 72-hour power reserve, which I think is amazing. So you have a 3-day power reserve in this watch, which always had around like 50 hours. So the fact that you can leave this for 3 days instead of 2 days can be a pretty big difference for many people. So you could take it off on Friday and come back on Monday after the weekend, and it would still be ticking, which is really cool. The signed crown with the Rolex crown. So like I said about the whole marketing company of that Rolex is, I'm not saying they don't make good watches or good quality watches. They're superb quality. They are very up there in terms of design and heft and feel. But one thing I can say is, as amazing as their polishing is, it is not the distortion-free polishing that you get with Grand Seiko. That being said, I will say that the metal feels much superior than the steel they use in other watches, such as Grand Seiko and Omega. It just has its own feel to it. Even Tudor, it does not feel like this. This definitely has something different about it, and I think it has to do with the type of steel they use. All right, so let's get it on wrist and see how it fits. So another thing is the clasp. This is an amazing clasp. I mean, it's so easy to use. It just snaps right into place and it opens so easily, and it's very tight and secure. And when you get that other clasp right on, I mean, it just feels so solid and it's so well built. And the design, it's very sleek, and it just hides well with the bracelet. Unfortunately, Grand Seiko and Omega have not mastered yet. The new Speedmaster is very close, but their Seamaster clasp and the Grand Seiko diver clasp, even the regular Seikos, are not quite this nice. And this is one point that I'm definitely giving Rolex. And you get that beautiful Rolex signature right there. All right, guys, there it is on wrist. I have a 6.5 inch wrist, and this thing is 41 millimeters, and it just fits amazing. The new lugs really do it justice. And I gotta say, this bracelet is probably one of the most comfortable bracelets I ever felt. It is, from every watch that I ever had or still own, this is definitely the most comfortable bracelet and the highest quality bracelet as well. It almost looks like an integrated bracelet. It's done that well. The way that there's no gap between the end link, the flushness right there, and the pattern, the way it continues all the way up. I mean, it just feels really nice. I could argue that I don't have too many bracelet watches, but I do have the Omega bracelet, the Grand Seiko bracelet. They don't feel nearly as nice as this. Speedmaster's close, but I still give Rolex the edge on this bracelet. And appearance, that is completely different as well. I mean, like I said, when you first look at this, it's really glossy, it's really shiny, it just looks really high-end and expensive. You look at it and you just think, that's a nice watch. That's a good looking watch. Everything's proportionate, everything is made very well. Design aspects wise, I think everything just fits perfectly. It has perfect markers, perfect handset. I know it's subjective, but to me, I think from all the divers I have, this is probably the most beautiful one. And even if you're not a diving watch fan, I think this watch just does everything so well that you kind of can't go wrong with it. It just aesthetically looks so beautiful, and the quality is just there, and everything just fits really well. Rolex started off as just a regular tool watchmaker when they made the Submariner originally, and it didn't cost too much either. But over the years, the materials got much more higher end. The price just kept going up, and the reason for that trend is that Rolex slowly started becoming a luxury watchmaker versus just a tool watchmaker. watchmaker. Don't be fooled, this is still a very capable watch that can take a lot of stress and a lot of beating without servicing for many years, which I think is amazing. That is definitely something to be proud of. Like I said, definitely worth the wait. Definitely something I think everyone should just go out and try, or ask their friend to try on, or ask someone they know who has one, because I feel like once you try this watch on, you'll realize that it definitely is much more special than any other watch, and there is a difference in feeling between this watch and many others. Not saying that other watches aren't special. They all have their own unique feel, and I love all watches, but this one definitely is worth a look. Everyone should have one of these in their collection. All right, guys, let me know in the comments what you guys think. All right, see you guys next time.